I decided to stop drinking coffee when I got back from a shift working on an ambulance. I'm an EMT. And I'd been working on the ambulance rig for 72 hours. I'd been working for 3 days straight. I had an hour break in between each of the 12-hour shifts, so I maybe slept 4 or 5 hours during that time. Let's see, how many hours? 6 hours if I slept for the entire time. And I would sort of sleep in between some of the calls because there were breaks in between the calls. And the only way I was able to do this was by drinking caffeine. And it didn't even feel that bad at the time. I was drinking caffeine. I was actually awake, I was able to get through the shifts. A lot of people say that caffeine doesn't really help them stay awake that much. It makes them jittery. For me, it actually made me stay awake. And I was able to get through the shifts, like I said. And then I got back home 3 days later, went to sleep. And when I woke up the next day, it was one of the most terrible feelings I've ever had. If you've ever fallen asleep at like 3 p.m. or something, accidentally you're like, oh, I'll take a little nap. And then you wake up like 2 hours later and it's like 5 p.m. and you feel groggy and awful. It was sort of like that feeling, but significantly worse. And then I realized that the only way that I had been able to do this to myself, that I'd been able to damage my health this much, my energy this much, was by drinking caffeine. And what you don't realize is by doing this every single day, by drinking caffeine in the morning, or maybe even later in the day, like some people, you're enabling yourself to damage your health in a similar way. And that's what I realized. That's what I realized was I was doing that to myself every single day when I was drinking caffeine in the mornings. I'm a pre-med, so for me it was really difficult to stop drinking coffee just because there's so much stuff I need to get done in an average day. I'm in a research lab. I'm taking a significant amount of classes. I just finished taking organic chemistry last year. The fact that I can do it probably should make you feel confident that you could do it too. Because I'm doing a lot of stuff also, Some people say, oh, the only reason some people are able to not drink caffeine is because they're not doing as much stuff as me. And that's what I used to say to myself too. And then I realized, you know what, I could at least cut back a little bit. And eventually I was able to completely stop drinking caffeine. And it was during the school year, while I was taking all these classes. It might not seem like drinking caffeine in the mornings actually adds up to damage your health as much as the 3-day shift that I had at the ambulance company. But just think about the math a little bit. Say, by drinking caffeine, you're able to sleep 6.5 hours. And you'll say, oh, okay, I get 8 hours most of the time, right? Let's be honest. When you go to sleep and you give yourself an 8-hour window, you're not actually getting 8 hours of sleep because it takes you some time to fall asleep, especially if you're stressed out. And it also takes you some time, sometimes, to wake up in the middle of the night, right? And you have to pee or whatnot because maybe you ate dinner too late and maybe you were drinking water too late because you didn't have time to eat dinner earlier. You've been stressed out. You've been trying to get so much stuff done. What not drinking caffeine will do is it will force you to change your habits and sleep better because you just won't be able to function throughout the day. That's what happened to me. I was like trying to do the same habits I'd been doing and it just wasn't working for me because I couldn't get through the day doing that. So what I was forced to do was develop a specific time that I would go to sleep. And I was forced to use the time that I had been using before where I would just get back and be exhausted and be scrolling through my phone and whatnot. I was forced to use that time to actually be productive so that I could get everything done. And it's sort of this cycle, right? It's a snowball effect where either you'll keep getting less and less sleep, you'll keep having more and more time where you get home and you're just scrolling through some sort of reels, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or anything. And that time will keep expanding as you sleep less and less. Whereas if you actually increase the amount of time you sleep and you increase your energy by not drinking as much caffeine, what will actually happen is you will start being more and more productive with these pockets of time and you'll start having more and more energy to do that. And it starts by making small steps. It starts by taking small actions and then they start to build exponentially. It's really difficult at first and then it gets easier and easier because of what I just talked about, because of this snowballing effect. And the main reason is because caffeine sort of like numbs you to the need for sleep that you're not aware of as much. You're able to get through the day. Even if not super well, you're able to get through the day. It's sort of like taking Advil and then playing sports, right? You're injured. You shouldn't be playing sports. You should be letting your body recover. Instead, you're choosing to take Advil, you're choosing to keep exercising and working out, and you're opening up the possibility of getting even more injured. And that's like what caffeine is doing. Another point that's a little bit less important but is super beneficial is the fact that you're going to be spending a lot less money on caffeinated drinks than a lot of other people are. So for me, that meant not buying coffee beans, not buying, drinks, whether it's like yerba mate or any of those other drinks. A lot of people had Celsius. I didn't ever drink that, but there was also C4 Energy, which actually my ambulance company was sponsored by or something, and we just had these huge crates of it. So I'd have that sometimes. But the idea is the fact that you take out this expense means you have more money to spend on other things. And those other things could be, for example, buying food to cook with, or it's just an opportunity to improve yourself in some other way. It has a double benefit depending on what you choose to spend the money on now. That's really all I have for you. But if you haven't looked at any of my other videos, one constant thing I like to tell people is that you want to look for pebbles in your shoe. And coffee can be a pebble in your shoe. It can be something where each day it's causing a little bit of damage because you're stepping on this pebble and it's tiring you out quicker than you normally would be tired out. So you can't climb big mountains. If you want to find other things that are like pebbles in your shoe, you can just check out some of my other videos. You can either look at my channel or you can check out some videos in the description, or I'll post some on this window.